I am live. Will anyone join us then? I need to clean that down up. Well, we said 8. And no one's come in yet. I got 1. We'll take 1, 2. Well, to the 2 of you that are watching, hello. Bit of a strange one today. A bit of an emergency is the wrong word, a bit of a live stream scenario, just to see what your guys' opinions are on things. Different location from when we last streamed. You'll see this awful wallpaper here. I'm still yet to get rid of this in the new place. But it's all decorated and we've had some fun times and some fun things have been going on. And what I wanted to talk today is about samples. You know, little miniatures you get given off of the YouTubers, little miniatures you get given from distilleries and a few other places, things you buy yourselves in certain shops, certain specialists around the country. Are they any good? Because I don't think... Sometimes they can be and sometimes they can't be. And we're going to kind of run through 3 today, just to see what you all think. But for the 3 of you that are watching, I'm hoping for a few more to kick in soon. What are your opinions on miniatures? Are they worth it? Are they not worth it? Do they give you a big enough sense of a bottle of whiskey? Do they give you, you know, the ability to kind of get indulgent and explore a whiskey in a different way with only, you know, 5cl, or sometimes even smaller? So I'm going to pull the first one just while we wait, and I've got 3 here. The first one is this year's Longrow 18-year-old, kindly given to me by a good friend, well, good customers actually, who come to a lot of the tastings I run at the whisky shop in Manchester, Sam and Laura. And we do a lot of bottle splits and bottle shares and things. They've been kind enough to give me a little sample of this, which is very nice of them. So Longrow 18, not an easy whiskey to get hold of. Won't use all of it, don't need to use all of it. I'll let that sit in that glass for a little bit and just kind of let it open up. So for those of you that don't know about Longrow, Longrow is produced by the Springbank Distillery. It is their heavily peated distillate, still distilled 2.5 times, much like the Springbank stuff is. Triple distillation and double distillation kind of put together. Huge distillery in terms of demand and focus, but not a huge distillery in terms of output. I think it's like 800,000 litres. It's tiny in reality. Longrow makes up, you know, only a small percentage of that, as does Hazelburn, which is triple distilled. But this stuff's heavily peated, unlike Springbank, which is only partially peated. Now, I believe I tried this in Glasgow a couple of days ago. If not, it was last year's one. It was really intense, it was really different, and it was something quite nice. But let's see if that miniature can give us a good overview of what this year's Longrow is about. Sample giveaways are always a great idea. They are, because it's fun to get little samples given to you. Hey go Habs, by the way. But is it enough to really dial into a bottle? Is it enough to really get familiar with that bottle of whiskey, so much so that you might want to buy it? So far in my life, yes, it has been. I've bought some amazing bottles of whiskey off the back of samples, mainly a lot of like unusual Highland Park bottlings. The first time I tried GlenDronach 18 was in a little miniature that someone gave to me, and I fell in love with it and I had to buy one. Loads of Irish whiskey and loads of American whiskey as well. I think you'll find that with those kind of in-demand products now, Irish is becoming bigger and bigger, and bourbon's becoming bigger and bigger. You're only going to see more and more demand for it, and not everyone wants to spend crazy amounts of money on a premium bottle of bourbon or Irish whiskey that you've never tried before. So, you know, things like the older Redbreast range or the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. If someone's kind enough to give you those in a little mini, you know, thank them, give them something else as you go along. But this is Longrow. This is really cool glass as well. It was given to me by Jeremy, who runs Social Sippers Club, and he's the wonderful man, and I've still not been able to send him anything in the post yet, because trying to ship stuff to Canada is a bit difficult. So what we are going to do is I'm going to try and get some things over to him quite soon and see if he likes those, see if he's a fan of them. If not, then you know, we'll see how it goes. But what I do want to try and get across, and as we hopefully get more of you in this, did you try a sample that was so unbelievable that you had to go and buy the bottle either in the shop, at the distillery, something that someone sent you in the post? Was it that good that you went, right, that's mine, click, done, getting the bottle delivered? Because I have done that, but it's not happened for a while, and I'm hoping to, hopefully the selection I've got in front of me might change that. I think one of them isn't available anymore, but we'll talk about that later. But having just recently moved house, most of my whiskey collection is back at my mum's house because it's very expensive and I didn't want to damage it. So what I did, I brought a huge bag of samples, and I mean huge, it's in this corner over here. If I can pick up the camera and show you. It's just that huge blue bag, and inside it is just a plethora of glass. Just so many things, it makes intense noises when I pick it up. And I thought to myself, I've got all these samples, they've been given to me over the years, and it's literally just piled up and piled up and piled up, and I've just not had time for them. And I know a lot of YouTubers have probably said the same thing, you know, you just get sent all these samples and you don't really have time, even though it's ironically a small bottle. But I picked 3 out today, the first one being this year's Longrow, Longrow 18. And I just want to see if it's intriguing enough, if it pulls you in, if it's captivating enough. So we'll go in and smell it, because that's what you're all here for. I would not completely judge a whiskey based on a sample, but I have avoided a few bad purchases. See, this is what I'm getting at. Oxidization and aeration, two very unusual things. They can affect whiskey in a massive way, very immediately or over a slower, longer amount of time. And hopefully these will all be fine, because I've owned, I mean, that one's quite new, but like, I've owned the other two for quite a while now. And I'm hoping that maybe either it'll give a good indication or a bad indication. It's a little bit knife's edge, you can't really say too much. Hey, Dram Dude. But let's smell this Longrow, and let's see what's happening with it. Classic Campbelltown, it's that combination of kind of like really sweet, fruity loveliness and that kind of earthy funkiness. Get like grapefruit, apricots, a little bit of pear. Quite a nice white grape note, like really fresh, you know, freshly pulled off the vine kind of white grapes. And underneath all is this like really gentle, ethereal smokiness. It's not like really big, it's not hitting you in the face straight away, it's just kind of mellowing underneath everything. Beautiful nose though, very alluring. Classic Campbelltown, classic Longrow, good amount of sweetness, good amount of funky earthiness to back everything up. Hope you're liking this kind of newer room as well. Like I said, the graffiti wallpaper is horrendous. That is going to go eventually. Yeah, I apologise for not doing one of these. I know a lot of you have asked for them, but it's just taken me a while to kind of get everything looking okay-ish for all of you. Wanted it to look good, you know. Let's taste it. Not the full 18 seconds, but still quite good. I was in Glasgow recently, and I'm really sorry to Roy for not giving him a shout while I was there. But I went into the pot still, and I got really confused about what I wanted to order. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to the pot still in Glasgow, but it is just, for somebody who's worked within whiskey retail for quite a long time and has so many sample bottles and bought so many things, it's odd. It's not often that we all get kind of perplexed and kind of step back and go, whoa, I've not tried most of this. But at the pot still, that did kind of happen. Every time I walk in, it's just a case of, I've not tried that. So you get a bit confused, you get a bit awestruck, and you want to kind of involve yourself a little bit more. So, I tried the New Lock Lomond, which is it's a 19-year-old or a 16-year-old, and it's finished in like claret wine casks. Wonderfully spicy, very full on. And then for the last whiskey before my train home, I thought, you know what, I've not had Longrow 18 for ages. And I thought it was this one. I thought it was this year's bottling, but it's not. It must have been last year's. Because it was super sulphury and really intense. And in all honesty, quite hard to drink. and that was a 35 ml measure. So, that's a standard serve in Scotland. And I found myself just kind of sipping it and sipping it. I found it really difficult to drink. Whereas this 2019 one, much different. Fresher, cleaner, a lot more approachable. It's not as standoffish. If it was the 2018 one that I tried in Glasgow, then it's really intense and really powerful. Much with those Campbelltown limited editions, especially from the Springbank distillery, they're always good, they're always interesting, but they're not necessarily always something you want to own a full bottle of, because it might just be a little bit too powerful. It's cool to try, but you can't see yourself drinking it over 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 10 years. Whereas this is delicious. But with the point of this being, are samples any good? We're going to kind of take our time with these three. I know I always say that I'm not going to let this run over an hour, and every one I've done in the past has been like 2 hours plus. Hello, Etienne. This is this year's Longrow 18-year-old. Just comparing it to one I tried recently in Glasgow, in the Pot Still, my favourite bar of yours. How was your Arran trip? I know you were on Arran recently. By all means, give us a little feedback about that in the comment section. So yeah, sometimes the beauty of samples is you can try them, you can appreciate them, and then you go, you know what, that's a really interesting whiskey, it's really cool. I don't know if I want to buy a full bottle of it. And that's important to me as a whiskey buyer, to you as a whiskey buyer. Is it good enough to let everyone try it? Should distilleries, for limited editions, should they offer miniature releases? That takes me to an entirely different scenario for any of you that watch whiskey auctions. Scotch whisky auctions recently, there was, I think it was not the one that just ended, but the one before, a miniature bottle of the Yamazaki 18-year-old. I think it finished on £2,000 for a miniature. The Yamazaki 18 wasn't a limited edition 5 or 6 years ago, quite widely available. Limited edition miniatures now fetch a fortune, and the miniature collector's market is huge, as big as the full-size bottle collector's market. So, feel free to kind of get into the comments. I know there's only 9 of you watching, but feel free to kind of get involved with it. Would you buy limited edition whiskies in miniature forms from places like Springbank, from places like Glen Scotia? Would you want to kind of have that as an option? Yeah, Dramdude says he saw that and it was crazy. Like, I did bid on an auction recently and I won a bottle of Benromac 10 100 proof because it's being discontinued. And exactly, you go for the full bottle. Like a full bottle of Yamazaki 18 now is between sort of £500 to £700, depending on where you shop in the UK. It's £2,000 for a miniature. That must have been just one intense collector, is all I'll say about that. But yeah, it's would, as the 8 of you that are watching and the 1 of you that has liked the video, thank you. Would you be up if distillery said, you get that email from Highland Park, from Springbank, from Brooklady, here's our new XYZ. The bottle's sold out, shame. But here's some miniatures, available in like a pack, the 2 before it and the new one, or just like there's some miniatures going. They cost 5 to 10 quid with postage. Call it 12 maybe. Would you be interested in buying those? Because that's where I would really start to get interested in limited edition bottlings and limited edition releases. If distilleries kind of went, here's a little mini. You don't have to wait in line for hours. I think Ardbeg's website would still crash, even if they offered miniature bottles of it. But, it's worth contemplating about. I've got 12 now. I love the 12. Yeah, would you buy miniature limited edition bottles? Because I would. I'd be all over that. It'd be a nice way to assess it for you guys and for the channel as well, to do things like this. And I think it'd be really interesting to, see what the bigger ones went for. I like minis and samples for exploring new things. Sure, costs a lot less than a full bottle. But a whiskey I know, I want. No, I want the full 750. I see James is in the glorious position where he gets 750 millilitres as a standard. We lose out on that extra 50. I get where you're coming from, James. I'd certainly like them to test stuff, because I knew limited edition Ardbegs anywhere between 80 to 120 pounds. If a miniature was like a tenner, I'd be on that straight away just to see what it was like. And Etienne says, as long as there's a fair amount available, otherwise you're back to collectible. Exactly, yeah, because they can make more miniatures. In theory, one bottle will be 28 miniatures in terms of standard serves. So, if it was just a single rather than a double, anyway. But would they do it? I'd be interested. It'd get me interested for sure. Or a 700. I have my share of those as well. Fair play, Jason. Fair play. Yeah, we'll go back to the Longrow. Beautiful nose, very clean, very elegant, very fruity, and then it's got that nice classic Campbelltown nature of that kind of earthy, funky, um, something that I only really associate with Bruichladdich as well. Samples are similar to trying in a bar and discovering. Generally prefer to buy a full bottle though. Having said that, samples in your shop have often guided my purchase. Yeah, Rich. Like I say, it's interesting for that kind of. I'm not looking to buy a full one, but I'm looking to just explore. And if I just talk about exploring within whiskey, this thing will go on for a lot longer than an hour. But um, exploring is such an important part of what we do in this industry, and as consumers and reviewers, um, we need to what's pushing the buttons, what's making us excited. Personally, for me, it's like distilleries using different cask expressions and peating something which they never normally would peat before, or a peated distillery doing something unpeated, or American distilleries just being really crazy and a bit out there. Same with Irish distilleries. And for those experimental bottles, you're normally talking 50, 60 quid plus, which isn't a crazy amount of money, given limited edition Arbegs and whatnot. But it's still a lot of money to fork out a bottle that you might not like. And as much as I like exploring things, it'd be really interesting to just have a miniature option. Which is, I never thought I'd hear myself say that, because miniatures aren't something I normally do, but I'm coming around to the idea quite a lot now. But thank you for coming in, Richard. I've not seen you for a while. Baltimore. Hi, Phil. I've got a bottle of Longrow 18 dated from April 2017. Still unopened. Do you know how it would compare to your 2019 bottling? I do not. But you joined at an interesting point, because I was mentioning that I was in Glasgow recently, and I ordered a single Laphroaig 18, well, a 35ml Laphroaig Longrow 18 from the Pot Still in Glasgow. And I took it back to my table and was chatting with people, and it was so sulphury and so powerful, and it kind of put me off a little bit. And that's not normally something that affects me. I kind of enjoy the whiskey either way. I'll still finish it, but I found myself struggling. I've no idea what date that bottle was, or what year it was bottled. So this one is much nicer though. It's a beautiful smell. A sample is a good way to get a rough idea of a whiskey, but it takes me more than a dram or two to get a full opinion. Plus some involved time with the bottle. Exactly. So Etienne has also nailed another point. Time in a bottle. How long these things take to aerate, to oxidize. If it's a big old sherry cask, if it's big this, if it's big that. That's such an important element of things. As a bias point or an unbiased point, I had a bottle of Johnnie Walker Black Label open for about 4.5 to 5 years, and it tasted the same all the way through. It never really changed. But more recently, I had a bottle of Tullamore 14-year-old, the new single malt with the 4 cask finishes on it, and it's 4 casks put together. And by the time I got to the bottom of it and I had it in a decanter, it just tasted like coconut. It was so engorging and delicious and creamy, and I was like, oh, if the whole bottle, the bottle was great. I loved it. I've got another one, but the bottom of the bottle tasted so good, and I was kind of sad when that went. But I'm hoping the newer big bottle does the same thing, because that would be my new decanter whiskey. This Longrow's been in this glass for roughly 20 minutes, so let's see if it's changed at all. I won't be adding water to anything. I'm just going to do them straight up. This is 46%. We've got a 50%er, which has been open for a while, so you all kind of point to my point. And I've got something quite cool, which I know Etienne, the malt cask, as you all know, Manir has tried before. Well, let's taste it again. We'll see what's happening. It's gotten bigger. So the finish was quite short when I first opened it, and that was really kind of trickling down. I've not really been drinking whiskey at home that much recently, just because I've had other stuff to do and work's been like crazy busy. So I don't know if my palate just isn't adjusted to as much as it used to be, because I used to drink a lot more at home in my old house. But yeah, the finish is really intense now. It's got that campfirey, Kerosite kind of soapy, carbolic thing going on with it, which is delicious. Really lingering, really elegant. The fruit notes totally disappear. Let's give that like another 10 minutes or so. For the 14 of you that are still here, have you ever tried a sample that was like just no? You tried it, You tried to give it some time. You tried to give it a little bit of, benefit of the doubt. And even till the end of it, it was just like not good. Have any of you tried anything like that? Or the polar opposite? Have any of you tried like some really, really good whiskies from samples, bought a bottle as a result, or maybe a slightly bigger one than a miniature, and followed through and been like, it's still as good, it's still really tasty? I'll give that a bit more time. And to show you like the full extent of what I was talking about earlier on, because there's no full bottles of whiskey in this house at the minute, there's just minis. I'm going to pull this bag over, hopefully be able to hear it because it's quite noisy. And there's just loads of weird stuff in it. So I've got like Texas blended whiskey that Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey sent me ages ago. When I helped launch the Maker's Mark private select bottlings for the whiskey shop, a gentleman in America sent me his own private select bottling, which is really delicious. It's really fruity and quite full on. We've got some Hibiki 17. I'm going to save that for quite a while. This isn't what it says on the front. It says Milton Duff 16-year-old. This is most of a Lefroy 10 cash strength, batch 009. So I'll put that in there. Got some questions. A sample of JW Blue Label comforted me. I'm thinking it's not worth the asking price. I love Johnnie Walker Blue Label. I really do. If I could afford to drink it every day, I would. It's like a standard drink. But it is expensive. The history's there, and I respect the brand more than most people can understand. Johnnie Walker's a really nostalgic thing for me. But I get where people come from. Blue Label in tiny bottles, great idea, because you can really understand if it's worth it or not. I've got up through about 40 samples. They run the gamut from glad I did buy a bottle to must. Exactly. Jason, out of interest, what were the ones that you're glad you didn't buy, and what were the ones that you must own? I'd be very intrigued to know that. So yeah, diving back into this thing, we've got Deanston Bordeaux red wine cask. There's like a fair bit left in that. In fact, I might add this to the list. We might do that today as well, see what that's going on. That's some Kalila, some heavily peated young Kalila. Lot 40 cash strength, really unusual. Had Ardbeg Ardbog in a bar in Manchester, not a sample bottle but only a single measure, and had to buy my own bottle. Yeah, Ardbeg Ardbog, my original manager, not that I have a manager personally, but the original manager of the whiskey shop in Manchester gave me a sample of it, and I could only describe that whiskey as like if you made the greatest gravy in the world out of whiskey. It was thick and meaty and really herbaceous and really unusual. Loved it, really loved it. If I could afford to buy a full one on auction, I definitely would. Got a few other things to buy first though. I was first introduced to Leadchick 10 through a sample bottle. Yeah, I mean Leadchick is just unbelievable. Just glad to pass on Hazelburn 10 thanks to a sample. Hazelburn's an interesting one because this is Long Row. I think everyone in the chat loves Springbank. It's hard to find someone that doesn't really like Springbank. But I've tried a few Hazelburns, again in bars. Not overly influenced either. It's kind of like my first drink of the night, and it's never really sat well with me. But I think I have like some sort of natural oppression to triple distilled Scotch whiskey. Auchentoshan doesn't really do it for me. The Rosebank that I've tried has never thrilled me in many ways, and Hazelburn, I just don't get it. Tried a triple distilled Benriach a couple of years ago. I thought, what's the point? The double distilled stuff is significantly better. But it's odd because I love Irish whiskey. Irish whiskey is one of my favourite whiskey types. But I think triple distillation of Scotch just doesn't really... I don't think it works. But it has a rich history, a very important Irish influence in its history. So, it's a bit like that. But for me, I tend to pass on triple distilled Scotch. It's not really my thing. Samples that got me to Ben Nevis. It's another interesting one, right? Because Ben Nevis is this really funky distillery. I'm pretty sure Nika forget that they own Ben Nevis. I've recently just tried a 22-year-old sherry single cask from Ben Nevis, bottled under the old malt cask range with the whiskey shop. That thing is outrageous. It's such like a blackcurrant, honey, just thick whiskey, and it's got that really unusual like Ben Nevis funk to it. I think Roy put it quite nicely. He said that certain whiskies have character to them, like a funky character. Springbank and Long Row, Glen Scotia, Bruichladdich, Ben Nevis. I think, you know, those five have got that real signature funky unusualness that you just kind of like, as a whiskey drinker, you kind of dig into. You go, well, I like that. That's something a bit unusual. I can't put my finger on it. I love all those too, man. That's some of my favourites. They really are. So it turns out this Longrow is delicious, which we all knew it was going to be, right? It's Longrow. I think the bottle's about £100. So if it's still available in a couple of months' time, it's my birthday in June. I'm looking to treat myself to something. This is now added to it. So thank you, Sam and Laura, because they gave this to me. I don't know if they'll ever watch this, but they are good customers of mine at the Whisky Shop in Manchester. They come to pretty much every tasting. They're really interesting. They've always got some unusual stories and some really nice whiskey to boot. So thank you for that great sample of Longrow 18. I'll treasure that. So while I kind of finish this off gently, I'll show you what other weird stuff's in this bag, and if it takes any of the 14 of you that are watching's interest, we'll get on with that. The whiskies I tried at the Arran Distiller really opened my eyes to the whole range. You're right about the 14, and I love the oak notes in the 21. I paired that 21 with cheese a couple of months ago. Just an unbelievable 21-year-old whiskey. Right amount of power, right amount of slightly sulphury, oaky notes in there, and the right amount of tropicalness to it. It's like cherries and dark chocolate. Really loved it. The 14 is great as well. That 14 with that sherry cask finish is awesome. Not tried the 12 cask strength for a while, but I'm really glad you enjoyed Arran, because like the 10 was one of my first ever bottles of whiskey, and it's always nice to make those indie guys a little bit more well known. Did they mention anything about the Lag distillery, the new peated stuff? I'd be quite intrigued to know about that. What else we got? Another Lefroy 10 cask strength bottle. I think that was just decanted from my own ones. Why I can understand the classic laddie. I have a sample of 12 cask strength right here. Dig in, Jason, dig in. My birthday was just a couple of days ago. Bought a bunch of bottles. Dram Dude, what did you buy? List them. Let's talk about them. Let's get everyone involved. A sample of 8-year-old Hirsch Rye whiskey. That was from Dave at the BBS. He's given me some really cool samples, actually. That's quite nice. Johnny Walker Black Label Director's Cut. That was another one from Sam and Laura. That's really good. It's really dry. Should have bought a full bottle when the film came out, but they sold out like that. Happy a couple of days ago birthday. Indeed, happy birthday for a couple of days ago. I don't know what that is. There's no name on it. I'll come back to that. Don't know what that is. That might be my final whiskey tonight. And then, you know, there's some more unusual stuff. That's a 30-year-old Strathclyde. Nice 30-year-old grain whiskey. I can't tell you what that is yet. That's really cool. Lag will be peated at 50 phenol parts per million. Just started producing, but Vizzy said it's not open for yet. So Lag's going to be doing 50 phenol parts per million. Wow. That's big boy territory. £6,000 for a cask. That's not too bad, actually. You think about the going rates for some casks. I think Highland Park are charging £4,000 to £5,000 more than that for like a 12-year-old. So that's actually not too bad if you've got the capital spare. That's quite fun. A new exciting distillery from an already exciting producer. There's some gin. There's always some gin kicking around these days, isn't there? 2017 Tom H. Handy. Again, another sample from Dave at BBS. That got Jim Murray's best rye, I believe. So, gonna hang on to that for a bit. And then there's some typical stuff that you all know about. So, Nika coffee grain. Alan Wilson at Whiskey Friend. I don't know what he's doing right now, but he lives in Manchester, like me. And he popped by to the shop a couple of days ago and gave me some of the Glengoyne Legacy. What an unbelievable bottle of whiskey that is. It's like so chocolatey and thick and spicy and just ridiculous. He also gave me some really cool samples. This is one of his infinity bottle samples. I've never messed around with infinity bottles, but will be quite intrigued to see what Alan's is like. I think from the amount of samples I just have around me, it'd probably be worth putting one together. So I might do that as an experiment towards like the latter part of the year. And one more because I don't want to bore you with all of it. Some original Glendronach 15-year-old. Bought the new one, put the video out. It's the first video in a while that's had nearly 1,000 views, so thank you all for that. Even though it's in a little Bruichladdich bottle, this is some of the original one. This is from the 2014 bottling. Any of you super Dronic nerds that are lingering around in the comments, feel free to tell me how old that was, but I know it's at least 18 years old. So that's some of the weird and wonderful stuff I have kicking around in my little sample bag. But we'll finish this longer off, and then we'll go into a couple of other things. You got a Leipzig 19 Masala, a Leipzig 18 Spanish Shade, Barbara 2000, wow. Bunner 18, Long Row Red, Cab Frank, Glendronach 15, the new one. Glendronach, Lefroy Cash Strength Batch 10, Benriach 12 Sherrywood, Port Charlotte 10, Balcones Pot Still. That is an insane list. That Benriach 12 is delicious, by the way. I love the Balcones Pot Still bourbon's brand new. I'm trying to get some of that because I love Balcones and I'd love to try that as well. Yeah, they're mothballed 96, right? So that would be 18. Yeah, it's at least 18. But I'd be intrigued to know if any like super Dronic nerds out there know the exact age of it. So let me get rid of this long row. Yeah, the Leipzig 19PX. What a special whiskey that is, right? So let's put that over there. I'll give you guys the option. What do you want me to see? So we've got that Deanston Bordeaux cask, which I know a lot of people went crazy for last year. Got a little bit of that left. I've got some Whistlepig 10-year-old. Got some opinions on this. If you want to see me do that, talk about that. Just stick it in the comment section. So Deanston, Whistlepig, or this weird little thing. This is an 18-year-old Clynelish bottle at cask strength, and it's 54.9% ABV. Do you want to see me talk about this and see if it's all it's cracked up to be? I think this was part of the Hunter Lang Platinum series, and it's now gone. There's only about 200 bottles of it, and it all went. So, the 13 of you that are still here, Deanston, Whistlepig, or Clynelish, type away, vote. Clynelish, please. Everyone always wants to see Clynelish. Everyone loves a bit of Clynelish. I need to clean this penknife. I was painting the other day and I just totally ruined it. Get some like white spirits on it, use some Hay Club. Clynelish, hard to not vote for the Clynelish. Yeah, okay. Well, considering there's only 13 of you watching, and 4 of you have gone for Clynelish, I think we're going to go with the Clynelish. Clean the glass out. So, Clynelish fans in the audience. It's hard not to be right. 14's unbelievable. Distiller's edition, not tried for a long time. Would like to try it again because it reminded me of like apples and blackcurrants, but I've not tried it since the first year I worked in the whiskey shop, which was 5 years and 2 days ago. I passed my 5-year anniversary the other day. And then as of recently, a couple of special releases in the Diageo range. One of which I properly fell in love with. It was £500 a bottle, but really, really fell in love with it, and wish I could have bought one. And a friend actually messaged me the other day to ask if I wanted to buy a sample off him, but I'm just trying to save at the minute. I'm trying to save as much money as I can for fun stuff. And the Game of Thrones release, which we put a video up of. It was one of the cheaper ones. It was only £48, which for a limited edition Clynelish I thought was really good. At 51% as well. Great nose, not a great finish, just quite spicy. Nothing too intrepid about it. Really dug the Lagavulin though. The Lagavulin was excellent from the Game of Thrones releases. But this, so with it being part of the Platinum series from Hunter Lang, it's all natural colour. It's almost see-through. In fact, it matches the colour of my walls. Nice magnolia colour. 54.9%. No chill filtration. So that kind of roll around. Did any of you get to try any of the Game of Thrones releases? I was talking to someone who works in our head office the other day, and we've never seen so much web activity. We've been a whiskey company at the whiskey shop for 25 years. We've never seen web activity like it. So that Game of Thrones stuff was nuts for collectors, for drinkers, mainly for drinkers, I hope. Just found a drop left of this one. Are you talking about the same whiskey, Etienne? Same whiskey as this? Because I know you've tried this. We've been in a room when we've tried this together before. Ooh, prickly nose. It's a lot of ABV. Quite a lot of ABV. But if you be a bit gentle with it, there is that lemony white chocolate, typical waxy Clynelish thing that we have going on with it. Yeah, tons of just lemons and white chocolate. Wonderful for a day like today. It's very kind of calm weather day here in Manchester. It's been very relaxed and very quaint. Again, we're just going to let that air for a bit to see if anything comes out, because I've had this sample bottle for a long time. This was bottled as part of a like Christmas sample pack on 12 days of Christmas, the 12 drams of Christmas, sorry. And we wrote some sets off for a tasting, which is a blind tasting, which is quite interesting. And there's a couple of sample bottles left over, so I just bought 2 of these. So I've got this one and another one in there. They're like £5. It's pretty good. I remember a very specific flavour profile of it, but I won't go into that just yet. But besides the titular reason the 12 of you are watching, what's going on with you? What's going on with you guys? Have you got anything new that you've kind of pulled out the cabinet? I know that obviously Dram Dude's got this amazing list of whiskies that it's going to take him a while to get through. But have any of you picked up anything new, anything interesting, anything different? What's going on in your whiskey lives? Is there something really captivating you? Is there something that you've tried that's really thrown you off? Talk to me about it. Let's talk. You've got me for another 25-ish minutes. But we all know how these things go, so it could be even longer than that. I'm going to go for the taste while you'll maybe type away. My bourbon journey. Cheers indeed. Okay, so the finish is very Clynelish. It's that waxy, dry, oak, wood-influenced, lovely style. The palate's totally different. It's really herbaceous in the same way that that young Balblairs are. Things like the 03 and the 05. The new 12-year-old, if any of you have had the chance to try the new 12-year-old. Really just kind of green and like rosemary and thyme. Really, really unusual flavour notes for a Clynelish. Nothing that I've had before for a Clynelish. Bourbon Journey loves the idea of samples. Let's try loads of different whiskies. It does. And that's the key point of this really tonight. Are we gonna? Is it cool for them because it lets you try loads of whiskies and it opens your mind, and you'd be like possibly your wallet as well to be like, I love my third sample. I'm gonna go and buy a bottle, or is it enough? Is it enough to get you interested in a bottle? Does enough time elapse within that to make it worthwhile as a purchase? Brought back a private cask 13-year-old ex-bourbon cask from Aaron. Etienne, you're very kind to bring a sample. Chat to me and we'll kind of swap something, because I'm all about swapping. Sipped on some Balvenie 15-year-old single barrel ex-bourbon. It's amazing. Love ex-bourbon single malts. Me too, Morad. Me too. I do miss that bourbon cask Balvenie 15. It just kind of left production as I started working for the whiskey shop, and the sherry cask replaced it. And I've tried 4 different versions of that sherry cask. One of them was exceptional, and the other 3 were just okay. Whereas the 2 15-year-old bourbon barrels I tried were 2 different barrels, and they were both exceptional. They were both really, really tasty. And there's a supermarket in the UK called Booths, Booths, and I imagine they're probably in Europe somewhere as well. They had loads of old stock of it for about £50-60 a bottle, and I'm devastated I didn't buy any. Truly devastated. I should have bought more of that. Really should have. Just going to warm this Clynelish up a little bit. Because herbaceous notes is not something I know Clynelish for. That's not something... Luca tried. Is it puny or punny? My Italian's not great. I've always wanted to try that stuff. Luca, is it any good? Is Italian whiskey any good? I love Italian wine. I'm not a fan of their spirits. Like, a bit too sweet for me. Di Serono, Sambuca, It's a bit too much for me. But is their whiskey any good? By all means, feedback that, Luca, because if it is, I might buy one. Yes, it's good. Why is it good? What's good about it? Is it different? Is it fruity? Is it spicy? Is it full on? Is it quintessentially Italian? Is it suave? Because I've been looking to get some more European whiskey. Jason always gets a hint of bitter herbs in Clynelish 14. Oh. The beauty of whiskey and talking about whiskey is all palates are different. I never get that. Saying that, I've not tried Clynelish 14 for about a year, so I'll have to buy one and retry it. But that bitter herb thing is huge in this 18-year-old. It's really prominent. But that could be the ABV as well, just like pushing up some more unusual flavours. Sorry, I keep cutting out a screen. I'm sat on the edge of my bed and my leg keeps going dead. I'm just trying to move it. Puny's good stuff. Try the Isla cask finish. Okay, cool. So they've got different cask finishing. That's interesting. I'll do it. I will put money forward and try and buy one of those and see what's happening. It's not huge in the 14. Puny makes good heated whiskey. Oh, peated. Sorry, I thought you mistyped hearted. It's good hearted whiskey. They make good peated whiskey. Italian peated whiskey. I'm on it. I'm chasing it down. While I just let that Clynelish sit for a little bit and kind of think about it, I was in a bar the other night with one of my work colleagues and her partner, and she'd never tried Bren whiskey. Now, I think one of the last videos I ever shot in the whiskey jar was for Bren whiskey. I was privileged enough to meet Alison Park, who is just like the anthropomorphic version of charisma and fun with a body. Let me try Bren. I tried the 10-year-old too, which is really spicy. It's quite full on. But it's really interesting to talk about European whiskey outside of Scotch and Irish whiskey, or Northern Irish whiskey and Welsh whiskey and English whiskey. Very interesting to chat about European whiskey because it is, again, that's something that I would like to try, like a sample set of, like a French single malt, a German single malt, a Belgian single malt, a Swiss single malt. Phil Harris, the figure skater. Hello, sir. Have you tried the Suntory AO World Blend? I have not. I've got some very good friends that work for Edrington Beam Suntory, and I don't know if it's in the UK yet. I haven't tried it. I would love to because I think that's a very interesting idea, blending Scottish, Irish, American, and Japanese whiskies together. I think it's really unusual, and it's captivating a lot of flavours that we're all thinking about at the minute. Bourbon's huge, Japanese whiskey's growing and growing and growing, Scotch whiskey's very consistent, and Irish whiskey's growing. So I'd be very intrigued to know what that's like. Have you tried it, Phil? Because this Phil hasn't. Yeah, European whiskey. I would love someone to put together a European miniature set. French, German, Belgian, Swiss, Italian, Scandinavian of some sort, Portuguese. Do the Portuguese make whiskey? I don't know. But would love to try it. I think that would be a really cool set if someone said, this is European whiskey in a, why hasn't anyone done that? Should I do that? Maybe I should do that. I'm giving my business secrets away. But back to Bren. This whiskey hit the deck. And the smell that came off it was just unbelievable. It was like candy floss. Like bags of kind of Skittles and wine gums and fruit drops. The most unbelievable smelling whiskey. I woke up the next day and I could still taste it. It was still like in my senses. But the taste was so different. It was a taste that I didn't expect. It was maltier. It was much more savoury. It wasn't as sweet as the nose gave off. Pretty sure they must mature it in a distillery that has cognac casks just beside it. The whiskey is matured in ex-cognac barrels, but it must be in a warehouse which has cognac casks in it too, because it's just so sweet and so lovely. And as someone who has a little bit of a sweet tooth, I was really kind of brought in by that. You've not tried it, but the Decanter website sell the bottle and look to ship worldwide, including the UK. I'll probably hold off on shipping to the UK because I know it's coming to the UK. And like I said, I've got a couple of, even if I don't get a full bottle, I might be able to get a sample of it. Which we would do a full video on or maybe one of these on, because I know a lot of people in the comments of the regular videos have been asking for more of these. I did put a little title up the other night which said, we're doing a live stream today, but I think I just left it a bit too late, which is why we've only got 13 of you. I think the highest I've ever done was about 30. I'm not quite in Roy territory yet, but we'll be doing more of these. I might do another one tomorrow, because I don't actually have any videos to put out tomorrow, so I might do another one tomorrow. If any of you be up for that, just type yes, and if more than 3 of you say yes, I'll do it. We might do some more of these, or I could bring something from work that I've bought and just see what happens. But yeah, I'll probably wait for the AO to come. AO? What's it called? I'll probably wait for the AO to come to the UK, because samples, or I could buy a full one. I've no idea what the price on it is. I'm going to take a stab in the dark at about £55 to £60. Sounds about right. Klein Leash. Got more buttery on the nose now. The booze has really died down. And still, that kind of is lingering of like burnt, charred / roasted green herbs. Very unusual. I say Jason said he gets a little bit of that in the 14. Excuse me, in the 14, but I don't get any of that in the 14. But that's the beauty of whiskey. It's all different. The glory of that sample is it only cost me a £5, and I think the full size bottle was about £200, maybe £210 for a full size bottle of this Klein Leash. 18 years old at cash strength. Not my cup of tea. Smells really interesting. Don't like the taste. Like the finish. Oh, it's labelled. It's going to be £152. Wow. Okay, maybe I'll just go for the sample then. I didn't know it was going to be that much. Wow. 100 folks in the chat, would any of you buy that, or would you just kind of run for the sample option like I'm going to? I didn't realise it was going to be that much money. That's really thrown me back a little bit, that. Wow. It's non-age statement as well, right? Non-age. No. We'll see. It's all in the taste. It could taste unbelievable. It might be like a revolution. But I think we'll all be looking at samples of it rather than a full-size bottle straight away. But yeah, that Klein Leash. About 200 quid a bottle. Bought the sample for a £5. Not for me. Smells great, and I like how long the finish is, but I don't like the flavour on the finish. And I don't like how in mid-palate it's that kind of green, herby thing. Those notes really put me off. I don't get offended by sulphur or weird sherry casks or weird sickly sweet things, but I get really turned off by like green, herbaceous kind of whiskies. They just really don't sit well with me, and I have no idea why. I think it reminds me of just food that's like over seasoned, and you just can't taste anything. There's just too much of one dominant flavour. I'll still finish that off though, and then we can do the Deanston or the Whistle Pig, because roughly got about maybe 10 minutes left, but I might push it to maybe half an hour, maybe, because there's a few more of you kicking in now. And if it's entertaining, we'll keep going. But the most entertaining fact of all is that whiskey is going to be £152. Wow. Shows what I know. Klein Leash though, down the hatch. Something I've been neglecting. All of you, for not doing one of these more. But I've sadly not been keeping up to date with a lot of other people's channels, which I feel really bad about. Because work's been like really intense, and I'm getting home and I'm eating and I'm pretty much just going to bed or reading and then going to bed. I'm really kind of staying away from the internet quite a bit, but with the exception of this, of course. Has anyone put anything out that I should really go and watch? Because I think tomorrow, before I do another one of these, which I probably will do tomorrow, I've really not seen anything from Roy. I've not watched any of Vin's stuff. I've seen some of Alan's stuff at Whiskey Friend, because he puts it on Facebook and I can just click on it and listen to it on the way home. I don't really have to watch it. I didn't see Roy and Ralphie stream. It was like 3 hours long. I was doing stock take, I believe, that night. Probably should have had it on in the background, because it would have killed time a lot. That's worth a go. Yeah, that's on the to watch list. That's on the save to watch later list. That one. I saw today Ralphie put out a review of Ardbeg 10, like a re-review of it, and it got 77,000 views in less than a day. Oh, was it yesterday? My mistake. But 77,000 views. Unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. I was flying to Italy, managed to catch the last hour of it. Got myself into my hotel. I'll have to watch that then. I actually don't have much on tonight. I was going to start reading, or continuing to read, this book. But I've read too much horror recently, and it's really kind of messing with my brain a little bit. I find it really hard to sleep. So I think I might just put Roy and Ralphie on in the background and fall asleep to their dulcet Scottish tones. So the Climate 18. Great name, great age statement. Great for the fact that it's natural colour and natural cash strength. Not for me. Which is unusual, because if I would have seen that in the shop for about £150, probably would have taken a gamble on it, but no, not for me. Ralph and Roy should beat the horror straight out of the mind. I guarantee they probably will. I bet there's some cool stories kicking around in that stream they did. I've officially run out of water. So, before we kind of go on to try the Whistle Pig or the Deanston, because they're 58.7 and 50% ABV, take a little bit of a break. I'm not going to turn it off, I'm just going to kind of chill my palate out a little bit. Minus Roy and Ralphie, anything that is kicking around, because I love watching Rob's videos at Whiskey in the Six and Jeremy at Social Sippers Club, because they get so much cool whiskey. They just manage to get so much unbelievable stuff, and it really baffles me how they get hold of it. The money they spend must be incredible. And Rob broke 6,000 subscribers recently. I saw that. That's amazing. He's not watching tonight, but thank you, Rob. Rob's great. I love Rob. So I'll probably try and catch up with his channel, and I'll catch up with Jeremy. Vin. I need to watch all of Vin's newest videos, which is great because they're like 4 or 5 minutes long, so you can watch like 10 in an hour. The Canadian Tuber's working on a blend competition that Jeremy organised. That's pretty interesting. I did not know that. A blending competition. I will have to watch that. Whiskey Vault's great. Yeah, I just need to catch up with everyone. I've been really lazy. The downside of just, trying to sell whiskey to the masses, you just kind of lose track a little bit. Oh, we're nearly at 20 people. Thank you. Oh no, 18. No, we lost one. I talked about it and then it went away. Has anyone watched, what's it called now? It used to be called Maltman Mike and Friends. I think now it's called Whiskey Family. Has anyone been keeping up with that? I know they've not posted a video for like a month, and I was just curious to see, is it going down well? Do you like the new platform? We're not going to change ours. This one's not going to change anytime soon. Maybe a little bit more of this. But yeah, has anyone been keeping up with Mike and what's the other guy called? One of the classes. He's called Tom, but he's got some absurd name. It's like something Gentleman Grimm. Has anyone been watching their stuff? Any opinions on that? I'm going to lighten the palate up a little bit. I'm going to pour this it's not American or Canadian, it's just Whistle Pig, it's just rye. I'm going to pour a little bit of that in there, just because it's a bit sweeter. Might kill things off a little bit from the little bit of smoke. So, Roy and Ralphie, all the Canadian guys are doing a blending competition, which is unbelievable. That's really interesting. Scotch test dummies. I feel bad for missing everything they do. Because that was like the first live stream I ever did, was with those guys. I'm talking about it like I'm a seasoned pro, but I'm not in any way. I just really need to keep up with this. So I think this will be happening a lot more. I finish work at 5 tomorrow, which means I'll be home at 6. So I will do another one of these at 8 o'clock tomorrow with maybe just some more samples, because I think it'd be cool to do on a fresh palate, because I've had a very lazy day today. I think I woke up at 6 and I stayed in bed till about 10. That's a long time. And then I went and did some shopping. So I'm not really doing much today. Whistle Pig. Do we have any Whistle Pig fans out there? This is really unusual. Really unusual, because it's whiskey that is distilled in Canada. It's aged in America, in Vermont, and is then bottled and blended in Vermont as well to create batches. So on the front it just says American Rye Whiskey, even though it's distilled in Canada. So it's a little bit unusual. Whiskey Exchange have recently got a single barrel or a single batch of a Whistle Pig, which looks really interesting. It's in a very unusual cask called Arumbala or Arubellum. I don't know. Their competition, we don't talk about them. But all their whiskey is normally bottled at 50% alcohol. It's all natural colour, as bourbon and rye tends to be all natural colour. You can add colouring to it if you don't call it straight. So I might have just lied to myself. This could not be natural colour. I don't know. And they tend to be chill filtered. This seems to be a standard thing in America. But they've gained so much plaudits. It's the most awarded rye whiskey in the world, which is baffling when you think about things like Sazerac rye, when you think about Woodford rye, which got my best whiskey in the world a couple of years ago. And then these guys kind of came along out of nowhere and just picked up every award on the planet. I'm pretty sure Jim Murray's a big fan. The British Bourbon Society have bottled two two single barrels or single batches of this stuff. But this is the standard 10. Retails for about £80, so it's on the high end. Whiskey friend, hello. Well, we were literally just talking about you. Literally just talking about you before, Alan. Thank you very much for that Glengoyne Legacy sample. Such good whiskey. I'm not a huge Glengoyne fan, which it doesn't pay me to admit because it's just quite light. But I love the cash strength bottle they do, and that Legacy was just unbelievable. So thank you so much for that sample, because that really made a long day in work that little bit easier when I was doing paperwork for like an hour afterwards. If none of you have checked out Alan's channel, please do, because it's very informative. You've got a great collection. He's just built a new bar. Everything looks fantastic. So go and check out Alan at Whiskey Friend. So the nose on Whistle Pig is what you expect of a rye. It's really minty. Minty, eucalyptus, a bit chocolatey. But minty in a sense it's pushing towards like Colgate and toothpaste. Some really nice caramel notes in it though. I know that's a bit of a cliche in whiskey. Every time I do a whiskey tasting, you kind of go, what's it smell like? And everyone says caramel and vanilla. So, you're always going to get that. But there's some really delicious, kind of thick caramel notes in it. This is just the standard 10-year-old, Alan. Just the regular one. I know you recently bought the... Oh, good night, Luca. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you for that information on Puny. I'll be chasing that up. Alan just bought... Hey, Tony. How you doing? You good? Alan just bought... There's a company in England called Nichols and Perks. They're based in the Midlands. They're normally a wine merchant, but they've got some really cool whiskey, and they just bottled a Whistle Pig single barrel, which I got an email about and I passed on, because again, we're trying to save some money to buy some fun stuff. But again, this was just a sample bottle that the whiskey shop sold. It was about £8 for the full-size thing. So I just kind of dove on the deep end of that. How are you keeping, Tony? Are you good? I've not seen you for a while. We've not done one of these for a while. Any new whiskies in your life that you're loving? So loads of mint, loads of caramel. It smells like a mint julep cocktail. Really fresh and clean. Starts off great. Hello, Alex. Does your shop ship to Kenya? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm gonna say no. I can check for you. I'll check for you now while we're doing this. So that Whistle Pig, great taste at the start. It's got that really, really lovely caramel note again. It's really thick, it's really earthy. But then in a very similar way to that Clynelish 18, it becomes very earthy again. It becomes very green and very herby. And I don't know if I like that. don't know if I'm really vibing that flavour profile at all. So let me dwell on that for a minute while I find out if we ship to Kenya. Apologies for mixing business with pleasure. Oh, Alex has beat me to it. I'm going to ruin the surprise here, but for those of you that don't know, Alex does work with me at the whiskey shop. So unfortunately, Ballina, we don't ship to Kenya, I'm afraid. If you have any other addresses, though, we may ship to those. You know what? I don't know if I like that. It's got some really big flavour. Etienne agrees with me on Woodford Rye. Woodford Rye is exceptional. This Whistlepick has got really big flavour, but I don't know if it's flavour that I like. I'm pretty sure it's 100% rye as well. I don't think there's any barley in it. I don't think there's any corn in it at all. It's 100% rye. So one of the more powerful ones. I really don't know if I like it. Let's give it another go, eh? And minus the bit that I poured, I probably bought this in October last year, so there's maybe like this much missing out of it. So this kind of top bit. And I think I like the first bit, because I remember I wouldn't have kept it otherwise. I would have probably given it to someone as like a trade. But I don't know if I like it now. I think it's a bit... I feel like it's missing sweetness. I feel like it's missing something that I love in American whiskey. I think something in it is just kind of a bit absent for me. Have I tried the 15? Have I tried the 15-year-old Whistlepick? I haven't. I think the oldest one I've tried is a 12-year-old, which I tried in Brooklyn last year, the festival. The Nichols and Perks one is 61.2%. See, I bet that's quite tasty. This tastes like 50%, and it has a finish of 50%. And it's got big flavour, but I don't know if I like the flavours in it. Again, it's got these really kind of green, herby flavours, and it's just not for me. Etienne, if you do mean the 15-year-old Whistlepick, I have not tried any 15-year-old Whistlepick. In fact, I think the only 15-year-old bourbon I've ever tried is the Pappy Van Winkle, which was my least favourite of the Van Winkle range. It was still very good, but it was just, it was the least favourite. The Boss Hog, I've not tried any Boss Hog. At £350 a bottle, it's just a bit... I don't know if I could pay 350 quid for what is just a bottle with a really nice stopper on it. Again, the beauty of this event, samples, are they good? Is it worth it? If someone gave me a sample of Boss Hog and I loved it, I'd probably save up for a bottle, but it would have to blow my mind, because for 350 quid, I can get some of the Buffalo Trace Antique stuff on auction for that money, on a good day, anyway. Or, I could buy some really unusual, similar rye whiskies for that. Hello, Welsh. Me and you recently bumped into Food Quick. He came to Manchester for a bit. He did a live stream at the shop, and then he went and stayed with you in Birmingham. I missed his live stream, which I'm really sorry about. But I'm going to be catching up on all of the whiskey YouTuber stuff, because I've been missing it for a while. So I'll be going to watch the live stream he did with you, Welsh. That'd be really good. Kalila 30. On the subject of Kalila 30, whilst diving through this bag, let me just kind of show you the bag, because it is getting steeper and steeper. Just all of that stuff in there. Loads of it. I found a sample bottle of one of the best whiskies I've ever tried the other day. And it's in there. So you see most of it's gone. A couple of years ago, for a tasting event, we opened a Platinum Hunter Lang Kalila 30-year-old. And I was blown away by it. And I found this at the bottom of the bag. And it's the Kalila 30, 52.2%. Probably going to save that for a special day. But on the Etienne mentioned Kalila 30, so I just thought I'd get in with that. I'm currently trying the Dalmore 14 from Boutique Whiskey Company at 51.3%. Is there anything from them you recommend? Boutique are awesome. I wish I'd tried more boutique stuff, but unfortunately I haven't. It's just something that kind of escapes my grasp a little bit. Two whiskies I have tried from them. One was a second release of a Highland Park 16-year-old. And in Manchester there's a great bar called the Gaslamp. And they had it behind the bar. This was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. That was like the most chocolatey, almost port driven. I think it was a sherry cask, but it tasted like port. It was so unbelievable. And I had a really good customer who turned into a really good friend who had a bottle of that Macallan Private Eye bottling that Boutique did. And he opened one on a very, probably the most drunk I've ever been was that party at his house. He's a gentleman named Calvin. Alex knows Calvin is king. And he had a case of that Macallan Private Eye bottle. And he opened one of them. The price that whiskey goes for is unbelievable now. It goes for a couple of £1,000. But it was incredible. So Boutique are awesome, but you've kind of got to hit it early because otherwise they sell out very quick. I've never tried an independent Dalmore. And I chat to people all the time, especially staff in the shop. Alex in the comments being one of them. And I would love to try independent bottlings of Dalmore because I feel that is a distillery that has so much potential for people like us. They've got their super high-end market stuff, 50-year-old whiskies for £50,000 and all that stuff. But I would love to try like a cash strength 10-year-old Dalmore, natural colour, no filtration, and just see what it's about. Is it decent? Is it any good? Is it all there? Etienne knows what I'm talking about. The Hunterland Kalila 30 was amazing. We were both there at that tasting, and that HL Kalila 30 was great. It was 360 quid. I wish I bought one, because that's pretty much 4.5, 5 years ago. I wish I would have bought one of those. Would have been great. Can't be worse than tanning salon of distillery bottlings. They do like colouring at Dalmore. It's unfortunate that it's a business necessity, because I feel if that distillery was owned by someone else, Billy Walker, could you imagine how good that whiskey would be? Dalmore's distillate is pretty fantastic. It's sad to see what it ends up. One of the managers of one of our shops in the whiskey shop, Scott, who runs the Inverness store, an absolute legend, probably the nicest man I've ever met. His favourite distillery is Dalmore because of the distillate. He's tried it, he lives around the corner from it, and he says it's just fantastic. And I'd love to just try New Make Spirit, unbelievable distillery, but in my opinion, just owned by the wrong people. I'm working on a 9-year-old SMWS Dalmore. That sounds really interesting, Jason. No sherry, so just ex-bourbon cask here. I'd love to try that SMWS bottle. That sounds really interesting, Jason. Welsh, do you mean that one? Because Jeremy from Social Sippers sent me this. If it's the one at 55%, oh my god, it's so good. This is the 2017 one, so I don't know if it's the 2018 one. But if you save me some, I'll happily trade you something in return. Anything you want, I'll send you a picture of my collection or something. Just hit me up on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. So yeah, I'm not doing the Nichols and Perks one. It's just the standard 10-year-old Whistle Pig. It's not the special single barrel or any of the ones that the British Bourbon Society have done. It's just the standard 10. And I'll be honest, I'm not really liking it that much. In terms of the Lot 40 cash transport, I think it's unbelievable. I've been saving this because was it Whiskey Exchange or Master? It was Whiskey Exchange who got some bottles of it maybe 3 months ago, and I was like that close to pulling the trigger because it was like 65 quid, 71 with shipping, and I just couldn't afford it. It was just like breaching a bit too much. But I have this much of a sample left, and I'm saving this because I've tried it. You obviously love it. Food Quig loved it. Roy loved it. But yeah, that thing is just, it's so good. The standard Lot 40, I released a video on that last year at some point, That whiskey's about £30, right? It's the best Canadian whiskey I've ever tried. Hands down, it's 100% rye. There's no messing about with like 9.09% added stuff to it. It's just a rye whiskey, and it is up there with some of the best rye that I've tried. Unfortunately, unlike this standard WhistlePig, which I'm not really liking too much, I think it's okay, but I think it's a bit pricey for what it is. 45, 50, maybe 55 quid, I'd push, but for 80 quid a bottle, I don't think so. It's not really for me. And that sample's been open a while, so it kind of goes against the grain. So far, the first sample we did was that Long Row 18 from this year. If any of you can buy this Long Row 18 this year, that's lovely. That's really, really tasty. It's not as sulphurous as the one from last year or the year before. That Platinum Clynelish 18 smelled amazing. The finish was really good, but the flavours weren't all there on the palate. I thought it just wasn't my cup of tea. And neither is this. I'll probably put this in a hip flask or something and drink it after a long night at work. But yeah, you know, WhistlePig. I'm not really on the WhistlePig bandwagon yet. I know I'm a big bourbon nut and a rye nut and just an American whiskey nut in general. But WhistlePig's not really. It's not ticked me off yet. It's not tipped me off at all. Has anyone tried Balcones Rye? Not me. Again, I think Whiskey Exchange have bottles of it for 70, 80 quid. That I would spend 80 quid on because I know how good Balcones can be. I need to visit Texas and visit Balcones because, my God, I would get it. And as Jason said, the regular lot 40 is unbelievable. If any of you have got 30 quid spare this month and you want an interesting bottle of whiskey and you like the idea of rye, or you like rye whiskey, go and buy a bottle of lot 40 because you won't regret it. It's like the best session whiskey in the world. So Jason, it's me, you, Etienne, and Welsh. Balcones Rye. Between one of us, we must be able to get hold of a bottle. I would buy that and I would open it without a question of a doubt. You have the older 2012 release lot 40 with the yellow label. I have not tried that one. It's just the one with the... Oh, hang on, did it have a yellow label? It might have had a yellow label. I peeled it off because it was in the way of a really cool picture of how the distillery worked. Yeah, no, you know what? It may have had a yellow label. Yes, Jason. I'm halfway through my bottle of Balcones Rye. Welsh, what are your thoughts on it? Good? Bad? Typical Balcones? They are a distillery I'll always take a gamble on because everything I bought off them is delicious. I don't own a bottle of Brimstone because I don't think... I'm aiming to live to about 80, but I think I'm pushing that a little bit. If I bought a bottle of Brimstone, I don't think I'd finish it before I died because that's such a powerful whiskey. But I've got the cash strength single malt, I've owned a bottle of True Blue, I've owned a bottle of Baby Blue. Jason's 300 miles from Texas and he doesn't even get Balcones here. That is a shame, dude. It's fairly readily available in the UK. It's distributed by a brand called Maverick, so that's like Balcones and Few and Bren, boutique whiskey as well. So, we've got 25 of you. Amazing. 11 of you have liked it. The other 14 of you have severely let me down. I will be doing another one of these tomorrow, and I still need to cook dinner. So I'm probably only going to do one more sample, and then we'll kind of rack everything up. It's very Balcones. It gets better after a few weeks. Figured as much. Balcones gets better and better and better the more it's open. Fully agreed as well. At the end, there's only so much campfire you can drink with Brimstone. When we talk about smoky whiskey, it's a totally different thing. I was going to do this, which is the Deanston. But I think most of you have tried that because it got a lot of press last year. Like Jason Whiskey Wise loved it. Roy did a video on it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick something out at random from the bag and just kind of see what we've got. Because it's a very, very deep bag with a lot of stuff. So if my head disappears, I'm not going away. That says Blue Hanger 8-year-old, but I don't think it is. I'd love to be joining you, Phil. I like the sound of Topic. Liverpool v Barca has been pretty good, though. I'll catch up with this later. I can't blame you for that. I mean, Barcelona are 4 away goals ahead, right? And Salah and Firmino aren't playing. Pretty sure Barcelona are going to walk it. But never mind, man. Go away, enjoy the football. Apparently I have high tolerance for Brimstone. I don't think it's as intense as folks say. It might... You know what? I think if you probably drink enough of Brimstone, you get used to it, but I think about that whiskey and I can taste it. I love eating like smoked corn and stuff. I love that as like a snack, but as a drink with 50% booze, it's just like. But saying that, I could drink Lefroy 10 cash strength all day. I don't, thankfully, but I could. So let's dig into this bag. Again, that's got a label on it. I don't know what that is. That's the Clear 30. That is Kings County Barrel Strength. Picked that up in America when I was in Brooklyn last year. 63.6%. That's really cool. Ooh. Liverpool Barca. I mean, I'm a Manchester United fan, so I'm kind of out of this conversation. But if it's getting interesting, I might go and watch that as well. I've just found this, which got sent to me in the post, and I'm really sorry that I've not reviewed it for the channel. But this is batch number 2 of the Rock Oyster Cask Strength, 56.1%. So I think we're going to do this. Douglas Lang. It's not a company I've been exposed to a lot of, which I'm ashamed to admit. Now, Rock Oyster, for Douglas Lang fangs in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Rock Oyster is the island distilleries, so it's Talisker and Highland Park and Jura and Arran, not Islay. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's no Islay in Rock Oyster. They sent me this in the post with a cookie. It's like a gingerbread cookie. It was really tasty. And because I don't have the full bottle, we probably wouldn't do it on the channel because I like the bottle for display, and we like the cameraman, the camera guy loves to kind of get on it. To me, samples are only any good if they contain enough whiskey to allow you to taste it several times. In my experience, you need to give a whiskey several goes to fully grasp the idea. Rito, I totally agree. That's kind of the point of this. Is a sample good enough? A 5cl sample like that, is that good enough to give you a full vibe of the entire product? I don't think it is, but I think it's good enough to give you like an overview. That's kind of what this entire stream's about. Jason, thank you. Island is correct. Has anyone been able to try the most recent Lagavulin 12? Emeroy, I have not. I tried. I heard it wasn't as good as the year before, but I tried. I've got a bottle of Douglas Lang 20-year-old Eula, which is a blend of Islay. Welsh, is that? That sounds amazing. What's that like? Agreed. Whiskey site 6cl samples are nice. Yeah, because you get 3 grams out of them. I need to shoot. Great live film. See you guys, yeah. See you later. So Rock Oyster. I have never tried. Liverpool just levelled the tie. What are you talking about? I'm just going to switch the computer to BBC. What do you mean Liverpool just levelled the tie? They're missing their 2 favourite strikers. I've never tried many Douglas Lang products, so this is a totally new thing for me. 2 goals in 2 minutes. Jesus Christ. Can never keep these scousers down, can you? They always come back. Champions League, they always come back. For any of you that aren't Liverpool fans, I apologise. Neither am I, but football can be exciting at times. Oh, 7 minutes, okay. Keep an eye on that. I'll switch back to the comments. So, never really tried Douglas Lang. I know Hunter Lang very well, but most of that's independent. Well, 99% of it is independent bottlings. Their distillery is now open, and I hope to try some of that stuff in the very, very near future. But this is totally new for me. Au Natural, cash strength, filtering, all that stuff. Ooh, did not expect that on the nose. That's like, that smells just like honey. It smells like honey and ginger and cardamom. Wow. I think I'm going to put some of this back into the sample bottle because that smells unbelievable. I mean, you all know how I felt about that 2017 Lagavulin 12. I've never ever called a whiskey perfect. Ever. And another whiskey may get that in the next couple of years as palates develop and opinions change, but 2017 was unbelievable. That whiskey was just exceptional. It's 3-0 now? What? How are they doing this? I thought it was just going to be Lionel Messi versus 11 other men. That's unbelievable. They've drawn the tie. football, eh? Can never predict it. But yeah, this smells just like honey and gingerbread and cardamom. I never would have said this was from the islands. There is something in there that's a little bit spirity. And there's like a back layer of like turmeric and cayenne. There's some spice in that. It does not smell like 56.1% though. It's much lighter. That smells incredible. That's one of the nicest smelling whiskies I've ever come across. Just thick honey, like Manuka thick exotic honey. I see many people leaving to go and watch the football. I can't say I blame you. That's unbelievable. Just like this whiskey. I can taste Jura. So Morad, this is the Douglas Langer Rock Oyster Batch 2, 56.1%. Probably the last one we do today, because I still need to cook and do some other stuff for tomorrow. The nose is unbelievable. It's just like honey and gingerbread and kind of wonderful cooking spice sweet things. I don't know if my palate's a bit ruined, but again, in the back of this is that green savouriness that I don't like. Outside of that, though, you can really taste the separate elements in that. The Jura is very dominant, and Jura has that kind of house style of like orangey, kind of light orangey, blood orangey kind of flavours to it. It's kind of bitter and sweet. I can certainly get the Jura. I can't taste Talisker. You could argue the Arran is probably most of the nose, you know, that kind of big honey note. I always get like honey and apple and cream from Arran. I can see why they've had it like a gingerbread biscuit now. It tastes amazing. Had a sample of the regular rock oyster once, didn't like it at all, too salty, but then again, might have been a bad palate day when I tasted it. This isn't that salty at all. Because when you say salty whiskies, I always think of, the classic Old Pump 17, Glen Scotia 15, Glen Scotia 25, anything from Islay. You know, Brooklad really salty, Beaumore's quite salty. You are correct, Welsh. I recently bought a bottle of it off auction. In fact, last month, managed to get it with shipping for 60 quid, which is pretty good. So that's the Benromach 10 100 proof, which is 57% alcohol. It's being shelved for an annual cash strength release. And it is... I've not tried the new one, and they've released a peated one as well, which I'd love to try. The one I bought off auction is from 2014, and it is different. I don't know which one I tried in a bar, but the one I tried in a bar was really chocolatey and really banana-y. It was like banana split in chocolate with a bit of smoke. This one is just the most oak-driven, smoky thing on the planet. Welsh, if you want a sample of it, I'll happily send one to you. Just, private message me your address or something on Twitter or Facebook, and I'll get a sample sent over to you, because I've left it in work, and it is a monster. It's an absolute monster. Yeah, honey and gingerbread. Just, if I could wear that as a scent, I would. You know, for 56.1%, that is... It's not that heavy. That's kind of dangerously easy to drink. Just rub some whiskey on. Yeah, I mean, I could just rub it on me. It's basically perfume. Yeah, that 100 proof's been shelved, which is a shame, because it's a great whiskey. But the one they're bringing out to replace it is even stronger. I think it's the first batch is bottled at 57 point something or 58 point something. So you're not losing out with the new one, and I'm pretty sure the new one's the same strength. Yeah, the UK single cask that's a big ABV, so is the Peak Smoke. Yeah, they're both massive. The one thing you can say about Benromach, even though they only make 700,000 litres of whiskey, their young stuff is incredible. I haven't tried much old Benromach. I've seen it, but I've not tried it. But the 10's great, the 100 proof's great. I guarantee the new Smoky edition's great. I guarantee the new 100 proof replacement's probably very good as well. I didn't like the triple distilled, but I've already been over that. And I thought the 15 was okay, but I prefer the 10 and the 100 proof. I'm actually going to put some of this back into the sample. Put some of this back into the sample bottle because I feel like I'll regret kind of not trying this on a later date. But yeah, for a whiskey that's bottled at 56%, that is light. That's not particularly heavy in any way. If there's a whiskey for my favourite smell in the world, that is very close. I was pretty disappointed with the 10. I think with the 10, you've got to kind of... It's such an unusual whiskey, Benromach 10. You know, because it's got that little bit of smoke and it's got that spicy edge to it. I think it's great. I think it's a really standout bottle, and it's for its price range as well. It's like 40 quid. It's amazing. Try another batch. See what you think. Get a sample, maybe. It's a shame you live in America, Jason, because I would happily send you samples of that 100 proof. Maybe I can. We'll see. Just bought the distillery exclusive Benromach. Which one's that, Alan? Distillery exclusive? I've not tried that one before. It was all on composting alpha, and oh no, really barnyardy. That is unusual. One of the worst is the wrong word. One of the most disappointing whiskies I tried last year and again this year was the Benromach Organic. Because on paper that's me all over. It's a virgin oak matured 8-year-old single malt at 46 or 48%. 50 quid. Bought one. Just tasted barley. Doesn't taste of virgin oak. There's not that much smoke in it. That's kind of that. It's got that kind of barnyardy vibe to it, and yeah, didn't vibe it at all. Wasn't for me. It's time to stash some Balblair too. Just got another 91. The new range is pricey. The new range is pricey. Tried them. 15's really good. There's a lot of complexity to that. Say that again. There's a lot of complexity to that 15-year-old. The 12 is very similar to the 2005. The 18 smells unbelievable, but I wasn't sold on the taste. I've not tried the 25, so I can't tell you. But the 15 was good. I've got a bottle of 1990 second edition saved for when I eventually get rid of this horrendous wallpaper, and I've finally finished decorating my new bedroom. So I'll be cracking open 1990 second release, and we'll probably do one of these on that as well. But yeah, start stashing old Balblair if you can get it, folks. Because it's still, the old stuff's still very good value. Like the 2000 vintage and the 03 and the 05, you can still pick them up. I couldn't get 05 Balblair to work. Neither did I like the 91. I got as a sample much. I loved the 91. I thought the 91 was like fudge and brownies and chocolate orange. I really dug the 91. I love the smell of the 05. Not massive on the taste. It's, again, as a theme for this tasting, it's got that kind of herbaceousy green thing going on that I'm not really a fan of. The 2000's lovely. It's like creme caramel and ginger cake. Really, really good. I've got a 90 stash too. Need to try and find a couple more vintages while I can. My 90's getting opened. It's really a shame to admit, but I bought the 1990 as an actual investment. And then one day I was looking at myself going, don't be an idiot, just open it. Open it for a special occasion. Which I'm going to do when my sweat and labour has resulted in a nice room. I had a 99. I bought the travel retail one at the distillery when I was there. Lethal bottle. That was delicious. Really tropical. There's a bit of smoke coming out on this now. This is something that I'm going to come back to, because the taste is getting bigger and the ABV is becoming much more intense the more it's in a glass. But I don't want to get really drunk tonight because I've got to be up at 9. Got a big delivery tomorrow. But that is quite impressive. I'm liking that a lot. That's really, really, really good. One of my favourite Balblair expressions is the 97, 16-year-old ex-bourbon. The nose on that, I remember that 97 because it picked up loads of awards. That was an incredible whiskey. Again, really tropical, really fruity, slightly spicier on the finish. I don't even know if you can still find that anymore. It's not been available in the UK for such a long amount of time. Something a 7-year-old friend picked up for me. Nice, Alan. Very nice. Well, that was it. That was our little sample stream. Just approaching over an hour and a half, so pretty standard for me. It'll be an hour, no more. I will be doing another one of these tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So if any of you are around, we'll just be doing some more samples, talking a few more things over. I know it has a title, but for me it's just a way to get to chat to you guys a bit more and get to know you guys a little bit more rather than just a comment on a video. So thank you all for joining me tonight. Glad to see Glencadam 15 back in town. I've never tried any official Glencadam. Again, I need to buy a miniature pack and try it all. But thank you all very much for joining me. I'm going to go make some food for the next couple of days, do like a big lunch kind of thing. And if any of you are around tomorrow, feel free to drop in tomorrow. We'll be doing a very similar thing, just with 4 other samples from this huge bag of stuff. Hopefully I can narrow it down so it's lighter to carry. But enjoy the rest of your night. I'm going to go and catch this football match because it sounds amazing, even though it's from the team that I hate the most. Yeah, thank you all for watching. It's been a pleasure as always. And if you're around tomorrow, I'll see you tomorrow. See you around, guys. Cheers.